Hello, good Erev Shabbos, and welcome to part 23 of Orot Hateshuva of Rav Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Kook. We learn for the Refuah Shlema of Shimona Bas Daniela. Chapter 4, Perek Dalid of Orot Hateshuva begins with the imagery of Tshuva and the sun. The sun has these rays of light, waves of light. As he describes, Shotfim him zarmei Tshuva pratit va'klalit dimyonam kigale shalhavot shal guf hashemesh. Tshuva, the way it approaches the individual and the tzibur and the congregation, are like waves or rays of light of the sun, and they have the capacity to affect people without count, ein seforot, to affect generations, to affect everyone within all of the history of humanity. But when we perceive these waves or these rays of light, as the Baal HaTanya expressed, we are only looking at a little ray, a little drop of light, the vastness and the strength and the warmth and the heat and the illumination that is provided by this awesome sphere of energy. And when the individual is exposed to that truth, so it can feel exhilarating. It can bring the person alive. It can feel like they're tapping into the truth, and in fact, they are tapping into the truth. They are tapping into the reality of God's world, but it's only a little bit. It's only a little drop of the vast universe that is tshuva, that is this world of light that we are feeling. So when you find yourself inspired, when you find yourself suddenly jarred, so it may seem like, oh, you've tapped into truth. And now, of course, I just heard one shiur from one particular teacher, and now that teacher has the entire picture of truth in their hands, and they grasp all of the MS, all of the Kol Torah Kulo in their very words. But it's just a drop. It's just a tiny little ounce. Rav Kook describes this nakuda, this little drop of Shamayim Va'aretz Chadashim Olayim Otzurim Sham, the treasures, the vast treasures, as an os, a letter. But when we experience the letter os, olamim mitgalim, worlds are being opened up for us. Tevot, and then when those letters are combined to words, rivivot ol me'ad v'hamon yitzurim, myriads of worlds, myriads of galaxies and treasuries and vast creatures are now being opened up before our eyes. In other words, when our soul, individual soul, is exposed to a little bit of light, it inspires us, but it also is only a little bit of the beginning of much more, of much greater things to come, of much greater joy, of shalom ve'emes, of peace and of truth, and the neshama is inspired in turn. The other thing that Rav Kook addresses that causes us to be intrigued, that brings us in, are yisurin that come and they cause us pain. Rav Kook describes the yisurin as a levia norah so'ekes bechavaleha, that when we realize our pain, when we realize our distance from truth, it's like a lioness, a great lioness that is crying out in her pain. Rav Filber notes there are two kinds of yisurin, two kinds of pain. There's the pain of korban, yisurei korban. There's the yisurin that come from destruction, from heres, and then there's yisurin pricha v'yetzira. And then there's yisurin that we experience when we are creating something new, birth pangs, as they call them. And what's the difference between yisurei korban, yisurei pricha v'yetzira? Yisurei korban, pains that come from destruction, is a sense that all has been lost, that we'll never reclaim what's gone. But birth pangs is the pain you experience the moment before great light is exhibited. The Ayelet HaShachar, as the Medrash described, that first ray of light which emerges specifically in the darkest time of night. Tshuva is compared to that second kind of yisurin. It's that inner sense that something's wrong, that something's fallen apart, but the moment it decomposes like salt on flesh, on meat, the moment that salt touches the meat, all of a sudden flavors emerge, and we taste how incredible that meat is only once the salt comes and draws it out. That's what Yisurin come. They bring you to Mitziuta Idealit. They bring you to the ideal existence in which we sense our pain, and that pain makes us feel alive, And that exposes us to that little drop of light, that little letter that opens up vast treasuries for us. And so as the soul returns, as the neshama holechel mitakenet, it's exposed to more and more light, ultimately more and more truth, and also begins to experience that truth is not independent from the truth that other people are experiencing as well. Those rays of light reunite with other rays of light. Instead of seeing them as a contradiction, instead of seeing this another Jew's mahalach, another Jew's method in this world as being a contradiction, as being, God forbid, heresy, we see that all rays of light connect back to the source, back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.